Hello, and welcome to Appreciating Andor, episodes 4 through 6, which is somewhat true. Um, However, we're mainly going to focus on episode 4 for this episode of Appreciating Andor, because episode 4 of Andor for me is very special because it's the episode where, because episode 1 hooked me into the series. I was interested to see, where it was going to go, and like what was going on. But episode 4 is the one where I watched and I went, oh, okay, so we've got something else on our hands here. Like this has the potential to be a really, really good show. And for me, it's kind of because I felt the same way about like the Penguin episode 3, where that was another episode where it's like, ooh, with all the stuff that's going on and all the different character dynamics and stuff, like, yeah, this might actually be like really good. Like, not just serviceable, not just passable, but like excellent. And uh, Andor episode 4, like, it really does that. Where I know this episode and I think episode 5 are both really good examples in Andor of, like, there are a lot of points where the episode could end, and I'm really glad that it doesn't. Where, like, I just, it's one of those few examples where, because, like, I think a lot of times when you watch, like, a movie, you'll see points where, like, okay, yeah, we can end the story here, and then it'll continue for, like, another 10 minutes, and it's like, did we really need that? Like, but this is the exact opposite, where it's like, oh, yes, please, give me more, give me more. And, like, when the episode actually does end, it's like, dang, like, all right, well, like, and now, when it came out, obviously I couldn't just watch the next one, but now I have a really hard time just not jumping right into episode 5. Um, but, like, I really like how much is done in this episode, where, like, character work. We build so much character work in, where, like, we get Cassian's perspective on the galaxy and, like, the different rebel factions, and like, his perspective on, like, working with people and going up against the Empire. Like, and it's like, that's all work that's done for Cassian, and obviously it helps with, like, world building and stuff. And then, obviously as part of that, you've got Luthen in this, which I really love. And, like, we see it across these 3 episodes. But, like, I love that Luthen is essentially defined by the moments where his character breaks. Like, that to me is so fascinating, where, because he's this very, like, stark, calm, behind the scenes kind of leader, but the moments that really define him are all those moments where that sort of breaks, where the mask slips. Where, like, we see it in episode 4 when he's talking to Vel, and he first comes out and he's very, like, confident and like, hey, like, everything's going right, like, great, like, I'm so glad to see you, Vel. Like, guess what? We've got this new guy, Clem. You're gonna take him in. Everything's gonna be super peachy. And she kind of immediately like sees through that, and she's like, "What's going on? Like that's like I don't trust you. You're a lot happier than like I've ever seen you before." And like he's just like, "Look, you needed an extra person. Like I was coming here originally to shut you down. Now that you've got like this other person, I'm more confident that Aldani can work. So like you can either take him or call it off." And then um I really like that she just for a moment while he's talking to her, she kind of takes her walking stick and starts like messing around with like the dirt or like a rock or something underneath her, and it causes Luthen to like just stress out. Where he is like he snaps at her and he goes, "Look at me, you wanted to lead. This is what it takes." And like you can just it is a testament to Stellan Skarsgård's performance, where I just I love that you can see the passion from Luthen, where like this is, if Luthen knew, like if he didn't know that he was more important than the Aldani heist, he would be there personally doing it. Um, but that's kind of his like burden throughout the show that I think we see really well in these 3 episodes, where he is the behind the scenes guy. He's very important to the overall mission of the rebellion, but he can't be there on the front lines. He has to give that control to other people, and like that eats away at him. And like we see this at the end of episode 5, where he's, stressing out, and Clea has to, like, tell him, like, they're either going to be okay out there or they're not. Like, there's nothing that you can do about it. And he's just sort of like, yeah, well, like, that doesn't really make me feel any better, like, gonna be honest. And then we finally get his moment of relief at the end of episode 6, where, despite, like, having all of the tragic losses that we get through the Aldani heist, he, he knows that it worked out. He knows that they got that money for the rebellion. Like, he knows that the statement was made of, that his announcement, which Deidre is the only one to pick up on in episode 7. But, like, he knows that that was made. He knows that the galaxy is talking about, whoa, like, the Empire, they're vulnerable. Like, you can actually hurt them. Like, he's just so happy that worked out, because that was the whole goal of the Aldani heist. And like he has to go to the back of his shop to have a laugh. It's a really cool moment. And like I really like that moment. And like I love like Cyril. We get quite a bit with him, where like in episode 4 specifically, I love that we get another scene where he's being talked down to, and like he's being told, it's why am I forgetting his name now? Lieutenant Plevin? Yeah. He like goes to Morlana 1, and he tells Cyril directly, he goes, "Deputy Inspector Karn, proud, are we? Take solace in this. You will not, like, upon leaving here, you will not be replaced." you've rung the final bell on corporate independence. As of this moment, the Morlana sector will be under permanent imperial authority. Um, and it's like it's really cool, and I think the actor for Cyril does a really good job too, where when Blevin says permanent imperial authority, that's the moment where, like, in this whole scene, Cyril's been kind of looking down, like, kind of ashamed the whole time. But that is the moment where, like, the pride actually gets to Cyril. And, like, he looks up and he looks Blevin, like, straight in the eyes. And because, you know, as much as it's supposed to be a punishment for Cyril, and, like, obviously he doesn't like that he's essentially being kicked out of the system, he got what he wanted. He wanted imperial control. He wanted a crackdown on, like, the corporate sector. And Blevin told him earlier in that little, like, speech that there are all sorts of corporate fiascos, but that this one is finally the one that broke the camel's back and, like, caused the Empire to go in and just take over. And so Cyril is, like, basically ecstatic about this, but he has to, like, keep it inside. Um, and it's so cool. And then, of course, we get throughout this arc to see Cyril interacting with his mom. You kind of get to see where a lot of Cyril's, like, traits came from. Their very flawed relationship. And, like, that's all really neat stuff. And yeah, well, and then episode 4 also introduces us to Mon Mothma, and, like, we get to see her life. We get to see how she interacts with Luthen, how she can put on a, like, false mask and pretend essentially to be someone that she's not, and vice versa. And, like, it's just really neat. I love all of her stuff. And then, like, episode 4, we get a really good introduction to like the members of the Aldani crew, and there's so much character building that is really neat to look back on, like, even just in episode 4 alone, where it's like obviously Vel, we get quite a bit of her leadership style, but then like Skeen, we get him immediately sneaking up on people and being real serious. It's like, oh, yep, like, that's his personality. And then Terramin, like, we get, it's very clearly established just by the way that people interact that, yeah, Terramin's second in charge. Like, that's pretty clear. And, like, just sort of the way that he interacts is he's not afraid to question Vel, but ultimately he will fall in line. And then, like, Lieutenant Gorn, we get his whole thing of where, like, he kind of freaks out because it's like, you were just gonna show up with, like, Cassian or with Clem, just sort of have me explain why there's another guy here. Like, that's not a good plan. And she's like, yeah, well, like, it's the plan that we have to do, so, like, deal with it. And, like, even because one of the little moments that I really like is when they're explaining the eye, and Lieutenant Gorn explains it as, like, 50 meteor showers being pulled like a curtain across the sky. And then Nemec interrupts, or he doesn't interrupt, he continues and says, like how long it takes, and that it's not really a meteor shower. They're microlucent, like crystals that heat up and explode. And when he says that, you get this little moment of Gorn and Cinta both kind of like look at each other with like this little grin of like, yep, there goes Nemec, that little nerd. It's fun, and it's like and it gives you the impression that yes, these are people who know each other. These are people who have built up dynamics between each other. And it's so neat to see that that kind of care was taken with this show. Um, that it's like, yeah, this is, these are the things you need to do to create a living, breathing world rather than just having me stare at, oh, look, this is Boba Fett. I pulled him out of the toy bin, and now he's a hero because I said so. And it's like, well, no, stop. Like, you can't do that. Like, um, and so, yeah, I really, really like this. And obviously, I really like the whole arc. I mean, like, the Aldani heist is extremely gripping. Um, I love a lot of like Cyril's interactions with his mom, um, talking about like needing help and how he's going to get that and how he wants to clear his name. And like I do really like the moment where he explains that like um, I was fired for enforcing the law. Like I was fired due to corruption and laxity in the corporate authority. And it's like that is technically true, and that is what Cyril believes, but it's like, well, I mean, you did get I think they say that it's like 3 of his men were killed, and it's like, well, I mean, that might not have happened if you had been like more coordinated. Um and but yeah, it's really neat. Um and yeah, I really appreciate Andor, and I'm looking forward to season 2. Obviously, between this video and the last, we now have a trailer for season 2. Um, I really wish that they hadn't played a generic rock song over it. Nicholas Breitel makes really, really good music, at least for Andor Season 1, and I really don't doubt that the music in Andor Season 2 will also be really good, and I wish they would market with that rather than throw in generic rock song that's not going to be in the show. Um, like, I don't know, I think it's clear from that trailer that Lucasfilm has no idea what makes a project sell anymore. Um, I did find it funny that there is no title card for, like, from the studio that brought you such and such other projects. Probably because they realize that, well, Mandalorian is probably the only other Disney project that could be a selling point, and it's probably not a selling point to the Andor audience. So yeah, I guess we're just not going to include a title card saying that we made other things, which is kind of funny to me. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this episode of Appreciating Andor. I really hope that you guys enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. And let's watch Andor Season 2. Yeah, okay. Bye bye.